Greetings, I'm Nicole. Thank you so much for joining our class today. Thank you to Northgate for hosting this class. I am thrilled over the moon that you are joining us. We are celebrating the release of my new book, Viva Desserts. And today, let me show it to you. And today we're going to be making Churro Muffins. So it's one of the desserts out of the book. And like I said before, this dessert, it just looks like an ordinary muffin. But when you bite into it, you're like, oh, what is this yumminess? And I'm going to show you different ways to prepare it so that you could either get a gooey filling or you can get like something that rises higher. But before we even go into that, let's preheat our ovens to 350 degrees if you are baking with me. Okay, so thank you so much to my co-host Tere for allowing us to have this class and for being such an amazing partner with Northgate. Thank you, Tere. So, all right, here we go. I'm gonna start. First of all, let me say, I hope that you were able to make a canela tea beforehand. I made a tea of just water and a canela stick and brought it to a boil. Then I let it steep for, I don't know. It's been sitting there for about an hour now, so it's room temperature, and we're gonna use this in our mix. So first things first, oven's preheated. Next, we're gonna line our cupcake holder. So I wanna talk about cupcake holders for 1 second. The thing with cupcake holders is not all cupcake holders are alike. You have these cupcake holders like this one, for instance. This is the one I'm gonna use today. The difference between this one and this one is that the white is part of the paper. It's not separated. And with this one, which you can get almost anywhere, you can tell there's two layers. There's this part and then there's this part. I don't like these because when you pull your muffins apart, the white paper sticks to the muffins, and then when you pull that part away, it causes all sorts of distraction. I baked these muffins in this to show you the difference, but the ones in the book I baked in this sort of paper. So when you're looking for cupcake holders, always look for the type that the white is on the inside and it doesn't separate. I mean, you can also just use regular paper cupcake holders, and that's fine too, and buy them all over the place. Anywhere you can find them. I just always pick them up wherever I can get them. So just wanted to share that little tip. All right, so if you're baking along, let's line our cupcake holders. And this recipe will make, I'd say 16 to 18. I'm only gonna do a dozen, but so that this class doesn't take forever. I know a lot of people are probably baking along and also watching the Dodger game at the same time. So let's put all of our good juju towards the Dodgers today. My house is going crazy for it. All right, here we go. So now that our cupcake pan is lined, I am going to start making the batter. So in a stand-up mixer, we're gonna break 3, I'm gonna do it outside of this so that you guys can see in here, and then I'll pull this separate. So I'm gonna start with 1 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. And I really prefer baking with vegetable oil versus butter. I know a lot of people, or a lot of bakers like to bake with butter. I find that baking with butter, my breads or my cakes come out really stiff, or like after a day, they're not as soft and moist. And baking with oil really keeps your breads, cakes, muffins moist. And so I always bake with oil. And then we're gonna use 3 eggs. I don't know how to crack eggs the fancy way. I just do it the old-fashioned way. You know, there's some people who are able to break an egg with one hand. That's not me. All right. And if you have any questions, please feel free to jump in on the chat, and Tere will happily answer, or I'll answer. Depends on what your question is. Okay, so I'm going to start with 3 eggs and oil, and I'm going to put this, I'm going to let this whisk in my mixer on a medium high for about 4 minutes. So let me get that on there. And we have some fun stuff tonight. I'm going to be giving away a few copies of my book. So got to let us know you're in class. All right, here we go. So we're going to whisk the oil and the eggs for about 3 minutes so that they're fully combined, and we want them to get a little thick. If you want to put this class on mute until you see this stop mixing, feel free to do that.
Nicole, they want to know if the eggs are room temperature.
The eggs were room temperature. Thank you for asking. They've been sitting out for about 2 hours. I usually use room temperature eggs, but if I'm in a hurry and the rooms are not at egg temperature, I feel like it makes a little bit of a difference. If your eggs are cold right now and you want to go ahead and start mixing them in, that's fine too. Okay, so now I'm going to add 1 cup and 1/4 of milk. Love whoever asked that question. Thank you for asking questions. We love when that happens. Okay, and then 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Just 1 teaspoon. I usually just pour it in with my hand, but I'm being precise right now. And then we're also gonna add in half a cup of room temperature vanilla tea to this. Yeah, I really went all the way with the flavoring of this with adding the canela tea. It's a subtle little extra layer of flavor to add into the mix. Okay, and we're gonna bring it back up and continue mixing, only for like 30 seconds to combine. Okay, now we're gonna make, now we're gonna put together all of the dry ingredients for the batter. I'm gonna go ahead and move my mixer a little bit, and I'm also gonna change from a whisk attachment to a paddle attachment, but we'll get there. So first things first, gonna get 2 cups of flour. Two cups of flour right in. Let me grab a butter knife so that I could level off the top. So I usually like to just scoop the flour in so that it's not extra compact, and then just level it off and do it right in the bag. In you go. And then just again, just scoop right into the cup. And do you have any questions?
No, not right now. Thank you for asking.
And of course, I bought all of my ingredients at Northgate. I love that I can go into Northgate and it's a clean canvas. You come out with all these amazing ingredients and then come home and create. And it's just, when I'm in the supermarket, I always look at other people's carts and I think, I wonder what they're gonna make. Like, just based on the ingredients that they have, what would I make? I know I'm a metiche like that, but it's interesting. Or if one of my other favorite things to do, if I see somebody at the market and they're buying something that I've never bought before, I love to ask, well, what are you gonna do with that? ¿Cómo haces eso? You know, how do you pick this perfect fruit? So I'm definitely that girl. Okay, so 2 cups of flour, and then we're gonna do 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And I don't know if you know this, but inside of the baking soda, if you open the carton like this and you stick your spoon in, it has this little thing, this little flap, so that you can level off your baking soda there inside of the box. I don't know if you know that, little secret. Okay, and the same with your baking powder. Comes equipped with a level off, so you don't need to grab a knife. I love that. I always feel like, oh, that's so thoughtful of them to do that. Right. So 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and then 1 teaspoon of salt. And I know that sounds like a lot, but this is pretty sugary. So 1 teaspoon of salt ain't that bad. And plus you need the salt to balance out anything that's sugary. I feel like I don't make anything sweet without adding some sort of sugar. And the same with like if I'm making a tomato sauce, for instance, a lot of times I'll sprinkle sugar on the top just to get that balance. But okay, so and now we're gonna add in 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. I always pack my brown sugar. It's funny because when I was writing this cookbook, I wrote packed brown sugar a lot on my recipe, and the editor was like, do you have to write the word packed on every? I said, well, yeah, because there are some novice bakers who are not going to know that you should pack your brown sugars. Like, we can't assume that everyone knows. So always pack your brown sugar. And then we are going to use 1 cup of regular granulated sugar. I know this is the jumbo size of sugar. I remember I once got a 50-pound bag of sugar, and it was so ridiculous, like having that amount of sugar in the house and trying to get sugar out of it. Kind of funny though. Okay, one cup of sugar right into this mixture as well. So, and then last but not least, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. All right. And before it goes into the wet, I like to just break it up in my bowl first and mix it until it all combined. This is a good way to break things up. You don't necessarily need to sift, but it's a good way to just combine all of your dry ingredients so that you don't get like a big clump of baking powder or a big clump of baking soda or a big old rock of brown sugar. So I always do this first. Just whisk my dry ingredients together. I saw that a lot of new friends were signing up for this class, and it made me so happy. I hope that they were able to join.
We do have a lot of new names.
Good. Yay. Yeah, the churro muffin, if you know, I'm going to talk about a little bit about how this recipe came to be. I started seeing churro muffins around town. I had one at a restaurant, and then I had one at my local coffee house, and I was like, oh my God, I love this thing. Like, whoever thought to make churro muffins is just my new best friend. I came home, I started playing with the recipe, trying to create it, and I wasn't happy with it until like, I think the 10th time I made it. And then I was like, okay, I've made my own version now, and I love this. And like I said before, it doesn't look like anything serious. It just looks like a plain muffin. But when you bite into it, like, okay, especially, I think it's gonna rain tomorrow. So if you're making this is great because you'll have this tomorrow. Okay, so I'm just gonna dump all of my dry ingredients right over the top of the wet ingredients. All right. And change to a paddle attachment. And we are gonna bring this back up. And we'll see you in a few. I'm just gonna mix this so it comes together. All right. And then with the rubber spatula, I just like to make sure that there's nothing on the bottom. I like adding my wet ingredients first or keeping them on the bottom because it really
Nicole, you froze. There you go. You're muted, my dear. Thank you.
thank you.
But now we can't see you. Oh, there you go.
Better? There you go. Okay. What I was saying is that I like to add my wet ingredients first and then add the dry ingredients on top because then you don't get anything that sticks. Usually if you do it the reverse, then a lot of times it gets clumpy and sticks to the bottom. Do you want to flip it this way, the camera, just because it's positioned strangely? Like this. No, like this, yeah. There you go. Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna make the inside to our churro muffin, which is the yummy part, as I like to say. We're gonna start with a half a cup of sugar. So back to this gigantic thing of sugar. And just regular granulated sugar. This is basically the inside of the muffin that makes this recipe so yummy. Okay, so half a cup of sugar. And then 1 tablespoon, I know that's a lot, 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. So to 1/2 of cup of sugar to 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. And then 1/4 of a cup of flour. So let me grab my flour. I'm gonna add in the flour. And then again with the whisk, gonna mix this all together until you don't see any more of the cinnamon separated on its own. All right. That came together quickly. I'm gonna add in a 1/2 stick of butter, which is 4 tablespoons of butter, and this is room temperature. It might be a little more room temperature than I want it to be, but that's okay. It'll cut in easier. And a lot of times I would just work this in with my fingers, but I'm gonna show you another way to do it. The way people used to cut pastry a long time ago before the food processor came along. So you could just use 2 forks and just start cutting across. If you don't have a pastry cutter, you could just use 2 forks, and this is just as efficient as anything else. So this will take a second, and I just continue to like smush the butter into the cinnamon and the sugar and the flour to make a little strudel that's going to go on the inside of our churro muffins. So here's the thing with this. And I'm going to show you while we are building our muffins. With this strudel, you could either crumble it into the muffin or you could make it into a little paste. The difference is if we crumble it into the muffin, then it distributes this flavor throughout the muffin. If we make it into a paste, then it floats to the bottom, first of all, and you have this gooey bottom, but it almost makes it, oh God, like super, super gooey and yummy because it's all together. It's like sort of resembles like a lava cake would, that type of thing. So it just depends. If you crumble it in, your muffins will rise higher. If you want the gooey bottom, then you do it as a paste. And I'll show you how to do it both ways. The ones I made earlier, I did it as a paste where it's gooey on the bottom, so the muffins didn't rise as high. The ones in the book are with the crumbly inside so that you get that higher rise. So really, it just depends on if you're giving these away as a gift and you want them to be aesthetically pleasing, then you might want to crumble it in. If you are a gooey lover like myself, then make the paste. Do we have any questions? And there you go. So all of the butter is cut right in there. I didn't dirty my hands this time. And here we go. So now I'm gonna get my lined cupcake tray. And I'm gonna also get my batter. And this, when you make the batter, I like to let it sit for 5 minutes, and making the strudel for the inside basically gave us that luxury of letting the batter sit for a little bit, just so that all the moisture is absorbed in the flour. So we're gonna take 1/8 cup, which equates to 2 tablespoons, and fill each bottom of cupcake tin, which is 2 tablespoons. So funny, I have a friend and I was telling her 1/8 of a cup. She's like, what is 1/8 of a cup? I said, it's 2 tablespoons. She said, I've never even heard of that. I said, honey, it exists because I have a measuring cup that's 1/8 of a cup. So it's funny because people don't use it often, but here it is. This company made 1/8 of a cup, and it's easy when you're trying to measure out things. I like to put exactly 1/4 of a cup of batter in each cupcake holder. So if you want things to bake evenly, being uniform about how much batter you put into each cup will help that. Okay. Do we have any questions?
No, Nicole, not until right now.
Okay.
Your house must smell like cinnamon.
Totally. The cinnamon tea, I made more than half a cup because I'm going to show you guys how to make another drink while we're waiting for these to bake. We're going to use cinnamon tea as the base, but anytime I make canela in my house, it just makes me think of my grandfather. He always used to have a little pot of canela on the stove. And so it's the most familiar tea I grew up with. You know, like I didn't grow up with any sort of any other tea other than canela with my grandfather. Like that's what he drank. And so I love it. And I use it often in a lot of things. Okay. So now I am gonna take a half of teaspoon of my mixture here. And I'm gonna be sort of generous with it and just sprinkle it in right over so that we can get an even layer in our muffin, and this will cook in the middle. You could do it like that, or you can take a generous portion and make a paste out of it and then just drop it in like that. And that will give you a gooey inside. This will give you a more distributed inside, and it'll also let your muffin rise higher. So this muffin won't be as high, this one will be higher. And like I said, we're gonna do both because they have different outcomes, and I like them both. I think I prefer the pasty one though.
You have a couple of our viewers saying that the canela also reminds them of dads or grandpas.
Aww. I know, I love my grandpa. He's not with us anymore, and I think about him all the time. I'm like, my grandpacito, I miss him so much. But I hope he knows that. Still drinking my canela, grandpa. He loved to cook, you know, and I was raised in the same house with him. That is, so it's, you know, I think about him all the time. I think about my childhood and how beautiful he was and what an influence. And he's the one who taught me the Spanish language. I used to speak to him in English and he would respond to me in Spanish. And that was our whole life. Like, not purposely, just he felt more comfortable speaking Spanish and I felt more comfortable speaking English, and we just both understood each other. But it's beautiful. All right. Like I said, I'm only gonna show 12 muffins so that you all can do this at home. But so here we are. I did the outside ones sprinkled and I did the inside ones as paste. And then we are going to top with another 2 tablespoons of batter. And yum. I made some of these earlier so that I can show the class, and oh God, I ate 4 of them like immediately. Oh no, no, these muffins are so dangerous. And you can see with the sprinkled inside that some of it floats to the top, you have it. And with the pasty one, you'll see right now, it's not gonna float to the top. It's gonna stay underneath. It sort of sinks to the bottom because of its weight, and it creates this gooiness that's so good. But I'll be swimming in muffins all weekend long, and I'm not complaining about it. Okay. It definitely has, you know, how churros are a bit gooey on the inside, even though they're crunchy on the outside. This is exactly the texture of these muffins. We're gonna also top them with turbinado sugar at the very top, and they are super moist on the inside and really crunchy on the outside. And it's the combination of sugar and cinnamon that just so happy. Makes these muffins so happy. All right. So that is filled. And now for a nice topping of turbinado sugar. And again, just a half a teaspoon and just sprinkle it on top. You can be as generous as you want with this sugar. It's going to create a nice crust on the top of your muffins. And I got all of my ingredients at Northgate. I'd say majority of my book I bought at Northgate, all the ingredients. All right. All right. So once these are covered, we are going to bake them for 30 to 35 minutes. Here's a funny story. When I first signed my book deal, I was super excited. I started with gelatinas. I started the book off by making gelatinas. I thought I'm going to make the easy stuff first and then get into the harder stuff as I go. And the second I decided to start baking, because I was writing it in summer time, of course, I don't want to bake in the summer. The second I started actually baking, my oven broke, and so did my KitchenAid that day. And I was like, oh my God, okay, I'm gonna put these in the oven. I couldn't believe it that my oven broke the day that I started baking. I flipped out. It's like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I have to write this cookbook. And I have no working oven, and my KitchenAid broke. And it's funny because I'm gonna set my timer for 30 minutes. It's funny because for years I had complained and said, oh, I have a Holly Hobby oven and my oven's no good. And, you know, I had been baking in that oven for so many years. When I got this new oven, I'm like, I wanted to have a convection oven and blah, 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 this and that. I get this new oven and it doesn't bake anything like my Holly Hobby oven. My Holly Hobby oven that I had for 15 years was amazing, and everything came out so good and it just baked perfectly. This new oven with all the bells and whistles doesn't bake like my old oven. And so it was such a learning curve for me to like try and make recipes that I had been making for years in this new oven. So the reason that I'm telling you this is because every oven is different. Even if you have a thermometer in your oven and it reads 350 degrees, and it's still going to bake differently because the source of heat of where it comes from is different in every oven. And so for me, I always give it some leeway, like it could bake in 30 minutes or it can bake in 35. But you just have to keep your eye on it, especially when you're baking. Stick that toothpick in it. When it says, you know, when you see in a recipe book, till the toothpick comes out clean, now I know why. And I thought, did this have to happen to me when I'm writing a book, to have to also learn this, you know, new way of this oven? So it's so sad because I miss my Holly Hobby oven now after all those years of complaining. All right, so let me just show you while those muffins are baking. I have leftover tea here. I'm gonna remove my cinnamon sticks. I'm gonna remove my cinnamon sticks and we're gonna just make a chocolate caliente de agua while we wait. Do I have any questions?
No, Nicole, you're good.
Okay. All right. So let me add a little bit more water to this. Let me see. Give me some fresh water, please. So we're gonna just start heating up this extra tea that I have here, and I'm gonna make a chocolate de agua while we wait. At the 15-minute mark, I'm gonna also turn my tray around so that my cupcakes bake evenly. Just adding some more water and bringing that to a boil. So this is a fun recipe, my chocolate de agua. Actually, my husband's grandmother taught me how to make this. She is from Mexicali, and the first time I tried her hot chocolate, I was blown away. I thought, what did she do? Like, it doesn't taste like the hot chocolate that I grew up drinking. So I asked her to teach me her recipe, and I was so surprised at the simplicity of it and how delicious it turned out. This recipe is also in my book, but let's see. All you do is you heat up some water with your canela stick and you wait till it comes to a boil. I'm repurposing this water that we used for the recipe, and I'm going to show you guys. So the thing down.
Are you using chocolate abuelita or are you using Ibarra?
I'm using abuelita, but I would use Ibarra as well. I have an overabundance of abuelita in my house right now. I'm doing some work with that. So, and I like, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So question, hello everyone. What did you add with the canela to make the tea? I know that it's a silly question, but there's no silly questions.
There's no silly question. So all I did to make the tea is, thank you for asking, because you could see I have my Northgate bag I usually buy. They sell big ramas of canela sticks, but all I did was add 2 canela sticks to water and I boiled it, I'd say for like, I don't know, 20 minutes. And then I turned off the water and just left it there with the canela sticks in there. So that's gonna make the base of my drink. I'm also gonna add in some vanilla and just a splash of vanilla because I like the extra layer of flavor. So as of right now, I have water, canela sticks, and a splash of vanilla. And as far as the chocolate, you can use whatever your preference is. I know there's also artisan chocolates that come out of all over Mexico that I'm sure are equally as delicious. So whatever makes you happy. Let me pull the recipe from my book. Because I have less water in there right now, but in the book, it's asking for 8 cups of water, 2 sticks of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 4 discs of Mexican chocolate. We're not gonna do that much, but because there's not 8 cups of water in here. So I'm only gonna do 2 discs of chocolate. I'm looking for a can opener because we're gonna also open a can of evaporated milk. So like I was saying, the star of this show is to start with a water base, and it really allows the chocolate to shine, and you don't have a really thick chocolate. It's like this. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like this really toned down version that just lets the chocolate be the star of the drink. And I love this. You know, I was always used to really, really, really creamy hot chocolate. And I'm not saying that I don't love that one too. What I'm saying is this is a different take on it, and it's so delicious. And I know a lot of people either make this version or don't, or never heard this version. I was at a party in Calexico, which is a border town to Mexicali, and I was making this. It was around the beginning of the new year, like a few years ago. And these girls were at the party like, así no le hacen chocolate de caliente, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, excuse me, yes, you do, and it's really good. So I'm just, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So this looks like it's almost coming to a boil. Do we have any other questions? Well, now would be a really good time. Now would be a really good time while I'm waiting for my water to boil to let whomever's in the class know that if you take a screenshot of the class, or if you make muffins with us today and want to post them, anybody who posts a photo of the class and tag Northgate and also tag Presley's Pantry, and this is how you spell it if you're not following me already. Presley's with an S and then the word pantry, so that I can see what you post. We are going to pick 2 lucky winners to win my new cookbook, Viva Desserts, and I'll send it to you. I'll DM you and send you a copy of the book. So I hope that we get a few participants who are wanting the book. It's in stores already, but randomly gonna pick 2 winners. I hope to see all of your content. It's gonna be fun, and I can't wait. I can't wait. I hope to see your muffins. I hope to see you eating your muffins. All right, we're almost there. Let me show you guys what I was talking about with the cupcake holders. So you see this cupcake holder, right? The aluminum part pulls away, but when I'm gonna pull this paper part, it's gonna tear my muffin. So well, not completely, but it's not gonna be as intact as if you bought a paper or an aluminum that has the paper attached to it. And you can also see that on the inside, it created the gooiness because I made it with the paste opposed to a sprinkle. And you can see that gooiness right here. And oh my God. This is such happiness.
Looks so good.
I don't want these muffins to be in my house today. They're
Too
so
bad I
good.
live so far away.
All right. My water's boiling. I'm gonna go ahead and just add in my abuelita. and let it melt. Tere, what's your preference of Mexican chocolate?
You know, it depends what I'm gonna make. Like if I'm gonna make a café de olla, I actually like the barra because it's a little bit more bitter. But if I'm gonna make a chocolatito calientito, there's nothing like the abuelita.
Yay.
And then for moles, I also like Ibarra a little better, but you know, that's my preference.
So you use both?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to start breaking up my chocolate. I still feel it's too hard to like get in there with this.
They said yes, they're very dangerous, but they can't wait to make them and try them and take her to her son and her mija-in-law.
Oh, yes. I can't wait for you to make them either. They are dangerous, but so good. So good. I'm just thinking, who do I like a lot that can get these muffins? Who can I give these muffins to, right?
We're all raising up our hands.
Well, hopefully you're making them. All right, I could still feel the disc of chocolate at the bottom. I'm going to let it melt a little bit more. I'm gonna let that melt a little bit more, and I am going to rotate my muffins in the meantime because I always do. I like to rotate them. And I can already see the ones that I made with the paste center have not risen the way the ones that with the sporadic wrinkles. Oh my God, the house is starting to smell wonderful. Like I think it's 75 days to Christmas or something crazy like that. I'm like, oh God, all the good food's coming. Can't wait to start eating all the yummy stuff. Wendy, I know we haven't even gotten to Halloween or Dia de los Muertos yet, but when do you start decorating your house for Christmas, Tere?
Used to be the day after Thanksgiving. Last year it took me a little longer, but I'll see. I love decorating for Christmas, but the thing is my daughter likes decorating for fall. So last year there was like Friendsgivings and all that nice stuff. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I'm usually I'm usually try to start decorating for Christmas right after Thanksgiving. Last year I started a little bit before that, but usually the day after Thanksgiving is the day I make my tamales for Christmas because I freeze mine every year. So I always reserve the day after Thanksgiving to make tamales, like, and do it all day. And I'm crazy because I do it by myself. I know. I'm obsessed, that's why.
Could tell. That probably smells so good.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add the cream to it or add the evaporated milk. And because I'm not using 8 cups, I'm using just a fraction. I'm not gonna pour the whole thing. but I don't even have enough liquid in here so that the molinillo can like really do its job. It's the little wire, the little wooden discs are not even in. So this is not working, but this is the recipe. It's just a simple agua de chocolate. It's super yummy, super delicious, and is on our holiday tables all the time and all through the winter when it starts to get really cold. This is what I like to make in the evening to cuddle up on the couch and watch TV or sit by my Christmas tree or have friends over for empanadas. This is always a treat. I don't know if we should wait until the muffins are ready or if you guys are good.
Well, maybe when they're ready, you could put them on your page, on your Instagram story, and then we could all see them.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much for hosting us.
Thank
this was
you
a
so
treat.
much for hosting me, Tere. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us today. And we can't wait. Tag Northgate and Presley's Pantry for a chance to win a cookbook. 2 random winners will be selected. So have a wonderful Friday evening and enjoy your churro muffins.
Have a great weekend, everybody. See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.